Following November 3rd, evidence has been steadily mounting that Georgia's voting systems have been plagued with widespread election fraud.
There's video from the street side, too, where there's cops taking those barricades. Not the video we've seen of people pushing and fighting, but pulling them open and saying, come on through and walk up to the Capitol.
So here's what the Signal chat story is really about. It's about playing cleanup for Jake Sullivan and Obama.
It's day 100 of the Trump presidency, and we have golden age vibes here on the Matt Gaetz Show.
So in case you don't watch OAN, I think, that is a taste of its programming. And that is very clearly the pro-Trump coverage, some might call it propaganda, the conspiracy theories that OAN has been pushing for years now. OAN's content is so filled with lies that they have settled multiple defamation lawsuits for their coverage of the 2020 election specifically. Now, former right-wing news anchor turned Trump advisor Kari Lake says she plans on taking that kind of coverage global, announcing that OAN will fuel the programming of the government-funded international news service, Voice of America. Voice of America was established in 1942 to combat Nazi propaganda. Voice of America has been a vital, crucial tool to bring accurate, unbiased, pro-democracy-centric news to hundreds of millions of people all around the globe who don't have access to news created by a free press. This is the kind of news coverage that OAN is going to replace.
Daily at this time, we shall speak to you about America and the war. The news may be good or bad. We shall tell you the truth.
During the next 10 minutes, I'll be speaking to the citizens of the Soviet Union over the Voice of America about the upcoming Geneva summit.
Standing before the U.S. Capitol, built centuries ago on the backs of slaves, Barack Obama became the first African-American president of the United States.
They left behind chilling signs of horror Ukrainians suffered here during almost 6 months of occupation.
Joining our coverage, ranking member of the House Intelligence Committee, Congressman Jim Himes of Connecticut. David's still with us as well. Congressman, your reaction?
Well, Nicole, I wish I could say I'm surprised. You know, when I heard that Kari Lake had been given discretion over Voice of America, you know, this American treasure of many, many generations, which was so critical to fighting and winning the Cold War, I did expect the worst, and this is the worst. I mean, you know, OAN is propaganda. It's not even good propaganda, right? I mean, you played a number of clips there. It just makes up lies. And, you know, and it includes people like Matt Gaetz, who I can tell you a little bit about since he used to be my colleague. And the sad thing about that is that there's still plenty of countries that rely on what Voice of America was always there to provide, which was an alternative viewpoint. Something, and you know, as we'll all agree, all media, you know, and all reporters, even if only through story selection, shows some bias. But, you know, the difference is, of course, that real media make an effort. They don't deliberately propagate lies. And if they do inadvertently tell a lie, they go back and correct it. So now the many, many people of the world who are living under propaganda will be not offered some attempt at the truth. They will be offered simply MAGA Trump propaganda. And that's a really sad moment for this country.
David Jolly, to sort of pick up on the congressman's point, it's in this category of not surprising but completely shocking. Of course, this is not a third rail. This is not something sacred. But it is another indicator of how disinterested this administration is in supporting democracy and democratic messages. Your thoughts to this line being crossed in such a brazen manner?
Yeah, look, VOA may not be a sacred cow, but the truth is, I mean, the truth is still sacred, and I think most people consider it sacred. And so for the mission of Voice of America originally was to, and for decades, was to combat propaganda with truth. Now the mission becomes to combat propaganda with our own propaganda. And in this case, propaganda that is centered around the perfection of our president. Centered around, you know, someone who thinks he should be the next pope. This is all to elevate Donald Trump. And so, yeah, the vanity project is unsettling, but the real heartbreak, I think, is around the injury to truth. And then what does that also mean for an agency, a domestic agency that has been able to be the voice of America and that now becomes the voice of Donald Trump. It is unsettling to be a vanity project, but it is more unsettling to know that the Voice of America will become a disinformation platform sanctioned by the United States government, propagated on the world. This is a defeat for truth. This is an injury to our democracy, and one that only gets reversed if the election changes who's in the White House.
Congressman Hyams, let me just, for, again, people that aren't that familiar with the kind of content that OAN creates, this is not Fox News, not to say anything, but just to put it in relative terms. And I just want to put up some of OAN's coverage. This is OAN's chief White House correspondent posting on X. President Trump pledged to put America's workers first. He's promoting his economic policies. They've taken a lot of selfies with Donald Trump during the campaign, calling him the people's champion. I mean, this is, it has an echo to some of that reporting, I think, in the New York Times and other places that even Russia is uncomfortable sometimes when the right-wing media is so brazenly complimentary. And I guess that is sort of the category of pro-Trump coverage. It's not just we've looked at all of the policy proposals and Trump's is the best. It's sycophantic. And I wonder, if this is a clear and credible blow to the truth, what can be propped up to fill that vacuum?
Yeah, and it's particularly sad for at least two reasons, right? Number one, we don't talk about it a lot, but we certainly see it a lot, and that is that the Trump administration and MAGA generally is there to try to promote right-wing movements, including some really scary right-wing movements around the world, right? It's not an accident that the Vice President, J.D. Vance, has gone out of his way in Munich and recently to promote the AfD in Germany. The AfD is a party that has its roots in the Nazi Party and is so appalling to most Germans that they have, taken steps to suppress it. Now, that may sound strange to American ears, but we are talking about Germany here, which has in place laws that were passed after, whatever it was, 70 million Europeans and globally people died because of the scourge of Nazism, to be very, very careful about their right wing and what their right wing can and cannot do. And so the Trump administration, whether it's by embracing the National Front in France or embracing a very right-wing government in Italy or deliberately promoting the AfD in Germany, is all about trying to spur hardcore right-wing movements around the globe, even at the expense of the truth. The other thing that's very sad here is, look, people who live in dictatorships are pretty good at sussing out lies. This was always true of, the Soviets reading Pravda. And, people are going to understand that Voice of America, if they go this route, is just another font of lies, and they'll eventually tune out.